We've been saying it for years that classics and muscle cars with manual transmissions are way more fun than their automatic counterparts. And for the most part, I think that's true. Cars like these Mustangs could have come from the factory with a 3-speed or a 4-speed manual. But today, we're spoiled by modern transmissions that have overdrives, oftentimes in 5th gear. And while here at the V8 Speed and Resto shop, we do a lot of retrofit conversions, putting these modern overdrive manual transmissions into older cars, our friends at Tremec just came out with a new transmission that really makes this job a lot easier. You may have heard some names of other Tremec brand transmissions like the TKO series or the T5. These are both 5 speeds. The TKO 500 is very popular, the 600. The 600 had a 600 pound-feet of torque rating, but there was a few obstacles when retrofitting a TKO into a classic or a muscle car. The first one being the size of the case. You oftentimes had to modify the transmission tunnel to get the transmission to fit in the car. And we've seen a lot of people that have swapped in these 5 speeds into older cars without modifying the trans tunnel, but a lot of times that gives you an improper driveline angle, which causes vibrations and noise and worn out U-joints. So the fix there is to raise that tunnel to be able to fit the transmission in line in the right place. Well, this new TKX kind of solves that problem because the case is a lot smaller. That was one of their primary goals. So the TKX actually fits in most cars without modifying that tunnel. On the previous generation, not only did you have to cut the tunnel, but there was some casting ears and mounts that you'd traditionally have to cut off the case to make it fix. Well, you don't have to do that with the TKX. So right out of the box, the TKX 5-speed is an attractive option. But they didn't stop with just reducing the size. The TKX also has a 600 pound-foot of torque rating, so it's a very strong transmission. And they made the internals strong enough to handle high RPM, like 8,000 RPM. And they say you can shift this thing at 7,500, right? Which you couldn't really do smoothly with a TKO 500 or 600. Another thing that helps fit these is a 3-position shift option. So the shifter comes mounted on the back of the transmission, which is position 1. You can turn that around, which makes it position 2. And there's a more forward position of position 3, which will help you align that shifter with the original console in a classic or a muscle car. We recently installed one of these into a 66 Pontiac. It's basically a GTO, although it's got a big block Chevy motor in it. But we found out that the transmission tunnel of that 64 to 67 GM A body, this thing fit right in. There are 2 different forms of the TKX, one designed for Ford vehicles, one designed for GM. The GM transmission actually has a GM style crossmember mount at the back to make that a little bit easier, and the appropriate bell housing mount to fit a GM engine. And on the Ford side, you've got similar characteristics where it's designed to fit into a Ford car on a Ford engine. But we didn't really have any hassles putting this transmission in the car, so that was a definite plus. There's a bunch more design enhancements within the TKX, but one of the big ones is that they went to what they call an end-loaded design, and they have gaskets mating all the surfaces together. The previous TKOs did not have gaskets. They had sealant on flat surfaces, and they were kind of prone to leaks. So this time with the gasket mating surfaces, they're expecting not to have any leak problems, and the internals are made of stronger and higher quality materials designed to last. To complete a conversion in a car like this, if it's coming from an automatic, you're going to need a clutch pedal and a clutch. We like to use hydraulic clutches for a nice smooth action that's kind of easy to mount. If it's coming from a previous manual transmission car, many times you can use your original pedal and your original clutch, although, like I said, we like to upgrade to hydraulics. So overall, we really like this TKX. It's not the lowest price transmission, but you end up probably saving money on the other side by having a quicker install with less modifications to the tunnel, console, carpet, and all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in having one of these put in your classic or muscle car or even hot rod, look us up at v8speedshop.com. We're happy to help you out with it.